disrupted.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Being a fantastic day so far. Kamala Harris, or do you say Kamala Harris, however you pronounce it, is once again making a fool for herself, which isn't hard to do in her case. And I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible. I mean, I actually have genuine sympathy for individuals that, you know, it's absurd that, you know, the Joe Biden persona, the fact that he possibly has all the signs of dementia, all the signs of real mental issues and capacity, and the fact that he doesn't have the stamina. And personally, I don't think he has the qualities in order to be responsible and have the leadership ability to cater to 330 million people. It's just so absurd. It is so absurd. But now we know what the whole reason behind, you know, the Joe Biden presidency is because Joe Biden is easy to manipulate. Joe Biden is a puppet of the establishment. Same with Kamala Harris. They're not the ones running the country because they just make absolute fools of themselves, basically, when they're talking. Now we know that there's more behind the scenes, and we know that there's an entire cabal of criminal elitists that really have the reins on the entire country. But it's good to at least laugh at the moments of Kamala Harris doing a sheer absurdity and just how hysterical her comments get. So this is in a press conference or press rally for reproductive rights. As you know, the Democratic Party did not codify Roe v. Wade. It got overturned. They blamed the Republicans. So now they have something to run on. And that's basically the whole setup and strategic plan they've had for years, because they can't offer anything else. They have failed on, you know, Medicare for all. They have failed on, you know, providing education. They have failed on infrastructure. They failed on $15 minimum wage, which is the bare minimum of the Joe Biden campaign. And now he's trying to seek re-election by saying we're less than other Republicans. We're at least the better option because we're going to pretend to actually fight for reproductive rights, when really they had every opportunity, and even the people on the street know about this. They had every single opportunity to codify into law. Joe Biden could easily do it with the shake of a pen, and he never did. Why? So they can have opportunities like this and pretend that they're going to fight for you, when really they're going to be complacent with Wall Street, which is why the Democratic Party is no longer a party of people. They are just a conglomerate, same with the Republicans, a conglomerate of Wall Street, of the military-industrial complex, of big pharma, of big oil, and all the tycoons and billionaires that have bought these people off. And that's why Kamala Harris is the vice president. Let's be honest about that. So here's Kamala Harris at this rally, and once again, just making a complete absurdity of herself.
So I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past but the future. So,
did you get any of that? Did you get any of that? Like, that's not even good for poetry. Let's just be honest. It's not even good for poetry. It's not good. What is this? What is she saying? I thought maybe she was quoting a Beatles song for a second by saying yesterday, and like those words that maybe she was trying to like quote a song or something like that. But no, it was just word jumbo. Like at least I can give credit to her for at least being a step ahead of Joe Biden, because Joe Biden can barely finish a sentence. But she, on the other hand, can say a bunch of sentences that just don't make sense to anything, have no context to the situation that she's in. She's at an abortion rights rally for reproductive freedom, as it says on the sign there. And she's talking about, well, yesterday and today is tomorrow and tomorrow is the future. And we got to focus on, today being the future and not think about yesterday because yesterday is the past. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what I could say about that. But, that is Kamala Harris. That is your vice president, ladies and gentlemen. That is your vice president. When you think that Joe Biden is the worst of it, and people think that, Joe Biden is terrible, that's why Kamala Harris is in control. Kamala Harris, I can't see being in control of things. That is why there is a deeper that's why there's a deeper, darker cabal of people that have control over the situation versus Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. They're not in control of leadership. Let's just say that. And as this guy says, like his vice president, this is one of several recent outings where she talks absolute garbage and people still want to vote for them. And that's because of fear-mongering. Because fear-mongering works. That's the only thing that has democracy in America, is you vote for the lesser of two evils because you really don't have options. You can't vote for anything because you can't vote out of Wall Street. You can't vote out of the military-industrial complex. You can't vote out of corporate corruption. You can't vote out of the propaganda. But as long as you point the finger at something and scream about how awful it is and why you have to side with our side, that's literally the democracy head-toe, trip of America. And why it's such a sham, why it's such a charade, why there really is no options in America, and why the largest voting bloc in America is the people that don't go out and vote. I wonder why. Maybe it's something to do with the fact that, hey, I'm not really voting for anything. It's so crazy. So here's Tulsi Gabbard on Fox News, and she has some comments on this. And you remember that Tulsi Gabbard had words to Kamala Harris back on the debate stage. She called out her past as a district attorney. She called her past about how she, hid evidence for nonviolent criminals, how they kept in captivity, how she lied about smoking weed, and how she kept people in possession of marijuana longer than most murderers. There's a long, dark, disturbing past of Kamala Harris that Tulsi Gabbard pointed out. And now here she is explaining in detail why exactly this re-election process, because even some Democrats are having doubts about these two. But listen to this.
Is for them to be able to stay in power, they need Joe Biden to run for re-election, get re-elected, so that when he gets to that point where he cannot function, which will likely happen sooner than later, they will then install their puppet, their chosen one, Kamala Harris, to become the unelected president of the United States. And then she runs again in 2028 with the power of the incumbency behind her. They want someone that they can control.
And you think Kamala Harris is that person?
They can control Kamala Harris.
Why do you believe that?
I have no doubt about it. You look at how she carries herself. You look at her inability to form coherent sentences.
Can you explain the mystery of the ages? Can you explain the uncontrollable giggling?
Yes, I can actually.
What is it?
To me, it shows nervousness, anxiety, and fear.
Wow.
That's how she
a great
comes
analysis. I definitely don't want you analyzing me because that was dead on. Gavin Newsom, I believe, has a chance to win the nomination, and I think in the back of his mind, I may be wrong, is thinking of running. Would he have a chance against Joe Biden?
The Democrats seem to be lining up behind Joe Biden for the reasons that I've stated.
But don't they see what we see? Don't they see that he's incoherent? Don't they see the cognitive decline?
Again, the numbers seem to show that.
Right. So wouldn't they be open to...
But that's the thing. And that's the thing that Tulsi Gabbard is stating. They see it out in the open. They know that Joe Biden does not have the mental capacity to be in that position. And again, as trying to have sympathy for the guy and actually feeling, actually emotional about Joe Biden, the fact that he has capacity issues and should take care of himself, I wouldn't want him to be in this position. I don't think you should have an 80-year-old who's having struggles making words and saying sentences be in charge of a nation dealing with the economy, the military, all this stuff, and for 330 million people. I think it's absurd. I think it's almost abusive that you're going to have an elderly person be in charge of that many people. Which is why, again, I don't think Joe Biden has control over the country. He is just the mascot. He is the frontier. He's the illusion. It's the people behind Joe Biden that really have control. And they're doing the evil doings. They're the ones that are the criminal cabal that are obstructing individuals and oppressing people. They're the ones that really have the reins on the country. Not an 80-year-old who likes ice cream and can, not really make a sentence correctly. So that was an interesting take from Tulsi Gabbard saying about that. And she mentions about that they need the Biden-Kamala Harris ticket because the Democrats want to control her. And how exactly do they control her? Well, let's rehash a bit of the history because, yesterday is history and tomorrow is the future and today is now. To sound like Kamala Harris. So let's just remind people how Kamala Harris fought to keep nonviolent prisoners locked up. As California's Attorney General, she spent years subverting a 2011 Supreme Court ruling requiring the state to reduce its prison population. The overseeing judiciary panel nearly found the state in contempt of courts. And why is that? Because Kamala Harris, brought to you by the private prison industry, wanted to keep these prisoners locked up so we can have cheap labor. And so we can continue on slavery behind closed doors. That's what really happened. And she's bought by these criminal masterminds in charge of corporations that are consolidating with the government. And that's why she's in the position that she is. That's why an anxious, nervous Kamala Harris became the vice president when she was literally polling at 0. Same with Joe Biden. How does a guy that barely won the state of North Carolina, barely won the North Carolina primary, just automatically became president, considering Bernie Sanders won every single other nomination? But we're not allowed to talk about that. We're not allowed to mention about it because Joe Biden is a friend of mine. And I'm sure he's going to do great things, like get me a chair job. I'm going to be able to talk about healthcare, and he's going to veto it. We have a good relationship. Or how about this? How Wall Street executives are glad Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris to be his VP running mate. It was not good for the country, but it was good for Wall Street. Yay. That's why she's in the position that she is now, and that is why it is just absurd that she's in the position that she has. She has a responsibility, and she's supposed to be a role model, and yet she's doing stuff like that. And why it's just so unbelievably, cringeworthy, slap in the face. It's one of those facepalm moments. But they're glad to have her. As Tulsi Gabbard pointed out in that segment with Sean Hannity, they don't care about coherence. They don't care about, they couldn't care less about that. It's who's going to be favorite so they can push and puppeteer their agenda. Who's going to be better at pushing the agenda? Someone like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, or, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's actually challenged the establishment. That's why they're trying to keep him secret. That's why they're trying to kick him out of the discussion. Same with Marianne Williamson, even though Marianne Williamson, I would say, is a little more establishment than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Some may argue with that, but that's just my take. Or how about this? This is the really, really disturbing part. So, as Attorney General of California, Kamala Harris refused to prosecute One West Bank in 2013 despite proof that it violated the law in foreclosing on more than 1,000 mortgages. George Soros was a co-owner of One West Bank at the time, and he sold it for $3.4 billion the following year. And who donated to the campaign to get her on the 2020 election ballot? And who became the vice president? Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, puppet for the rich. That is just the tip of the iceberg, and that is why an absurd person like Kamala Harris, who literally makes an ass of herself every single day, is in the position that she's in now, and will continue to be in the position that she is now because it is bought. Democracy is dead. It is a bot system. You live in an oligarchy. There is no real democracy. It's all an illusion. It's all fable. It's all just a fictitious election period where you think you have change. You think you actually have representation, but really you just have puppeteers and the people controlling them. You had the mascots, the people that give you the illusion with the smile and the giddiness and, oh, we're going to definitely fight for you. And then they go behind closed doors. They go talk to their lobbyists, and one thing leads to another, and now you know why we're in the slough that we're in now. That's basically that's politics 101, basically. Corrupted behavior and the criminal cabal will continue to go on because no one's really willing to challenge it. And the people that are willing to challenge it either get silenced out, they get laughed at, they get smeared, they get McCarthyite smears thrown at them. They're called Russian assets or Putin puppets or Assad apologists or whatever name of the book. And stuff like this just continues on. And we're just told to shut up and take it. But, like Kamala Harris says, that yesterday was yesterday and today is tomorrow and the day after is the day after. But, hey, I smoked weed with Snoop Dogg before Snoop Dogg was Snoop Dogg. What a character.